What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 166. And today we're going to kick off the 2025 positional rankings. It's going to be a great season this year in the Bigs. We look forward to an amazing year. And this is always the most exciting part for us is ranking these players and then talking about them here with you. Tonight, I have two guys joining me who have their rankings all set. We have put them into spreadsheet and I aggregated them out. So we'll be talking about each one of them individually, starting with Frank Bucco from Vineland, New Jersey. Frank, thanks for joining us this year, man. How you doing?
Absolutely. I love it. I love doing these. It just means that baseball's that much closer. And it, I just, I'm over football and I'm ready for, the baseball season to start again. So another 6 months, 6 to 8 months of all this is what I live for.
You damn right. We are super excited for the 2025 season. I know this guy from Denver, Colorado is ready for this season. His name is Jason Ashby. Jason, how are you feeling about catcher this year, my friend?
Not terrific. It's a thin ass position. There's a few guys that are intriguing, even towards the bottom of the list, but for the most part, it's not. I don't think it's gonna be a good year for the catcher.
It's not very deep this year. I feel like, I mean, honestly, I personally would feel comfortable with any of my top 16 guys, but I'm the guy who always drafts catcher in like the last 3 rounds. So I'm not really looking for the top tier guy to be wasting a third, fourth, or fifth round pick on a catcher. I'm good there. Just give me, I don't know, Sean Murphy at the back end of the draft and call it a day.
Yeah.
Let's dive into this thing. Let's start with the number one catcher. He is the unanimous number one catcher. All three of us have him at the top of the list. His name is William Contreras of the Milwaukee Brewers. Frank, how do you feel about William Contreras, especially given that he came up through your system and you ended up trading him away?
Let me say this question. Yeah, I mean, listen, he was an all-star. He played half a season, or almost a little more than half a season. He qualified for the all-star game. I mean, and then they turn around and they trade him for a defensive catcher who is gets an oblique injury and is out for 7 months of a 6 month season. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's obviously the top catcher in the game right now. And who would have thought? He
281 batting average last year, a 365 on base with 23 homers, 92 RBIs, and the kicker for me, 9 steals. That was the most at the position, and 9 steals is certainly something. It's not a zero. It's a hell of a lot better than you're going to get from pretty much anybody else at the position. Guys only had one or two. There was one guy with 8. We'll get to him later on, but this is the guy now. This is the number one overall dude. Jason, how you feeling about this guy?
Yeah, I gotta say I didn't see it coming. He had a great 2023. It's very similar numbers to what he had in 2024. But like I just kind of I thought he would be another flash in the pan, and I thought that who I think is going to be our number two, would be the number one for the next decade. But this guy comes in and crashes the party, and he deserves it. He had a phenomenal year, and there's no reason to think he can't do better this year.
Yeah, and that lineup is pretty much similar to what they had last year. They won the Central with that lineup. Christian Yelich hopefully is going to stay healthy for a season. That'll provide some protection for him. Really solid dude at the top of the rankings here. The number two catcher in our rankings, both of you guys have him at number two. I actually put him at number three this year, but we're splitting hairs at the top here. It's Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles. Jason, how you feeling about Adley Rutschman? You mentioned him without mentioning him just a moment ago.
Yeah, because I think the world thought that he would be the top catcher again for the next 5-10 years. Like he was supposed to be the guy, and that he definitely took a step back last year with a 250 batting average and a 318 on base. Kind of a far cry from what he did in 2023. The power is still there. which is nice. But yeah, he definitely took a step back. But I'm pegging him for a little bit of a bounce back. I think he's still a nice young catcher, same age as Contreras. I still like that lineup in Baltimore. Um, so I don't see why he wouldn't be able to at least do what he did last year, if not take another step forward.
Frank, that lineup in Baltimore lost Anthony Santander and is replaced with Tyler O'Neill. Do you like that replacement?
Absolutely not. I don't. I don't. Tyler O'Neill is a guy, he's going to hit you 30 bombs and he's going to strike out close to 200 times a year. And he usually can't stay healthy. Like, that's not what that Orioles lineup needs, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, no,
Like,
I
they
tend
need
to agree with
somebody.
you. I tend
Yeah.
to agree with you, man. Rutschman is going to need to pick up his batting average and on base percentage, like Jason talked about. Only 58 walks last year. He had over 70 in 2023, so it was a really, really down year for Rutschman. Maybe he was dealing with an injury. I'm not sure, but we'll see what comes in 2025. Our number 3 catcher this season is my number 2. Guys, you have them at 4 and 5, respectively. Jason at 4, Frank at 5. It's Salvador Perez, and I'm usually the guy who's down on Sal Perez every year. I'm usually the guy who's like, nah, he's too old. Forget it. He's going to fall off. 104 RBIs, a 271 batting average last year, a 330 on base. He was leading the league in hitting for a period of time last year. And he's hitting behind Bobby Witt in front of Vinny Pasquantino. I feel like this is the season to get him because this might be the last year you see him with catcher eligibility. I think he's going to do a lot of DHing this year. I think they really like Freddie Fermin there, and I'm not entirely sure that they're going to keep him behind the plate too much longer. Jason, you have always been the Sal Perez apologist. What's up this year?
Yeah, and look, I owned him. I owned him all last year, and he was, aside from Francisco Lindor, probably my best hitter, for the entire season. And look, I have him at number 4, so I'm not down on him. I just give my number 3 an edge because of the age. 35. I think eventually he's going to start to wear down. Like you said, he's not going to play catcher for very much longer. I don't know that he can play another 150 game season. Like he's going to start to. I'm just waiting for him to start to break down, and but I mean, there's no denying what he did last year and what he's done the last few years. So he's a solid hitter. I have a number 4. I don't think that's really a crime.
Yeah, Frank, you're the low man on him this year at number 5. Is it an age thing? Is that what we're boiling it down to?
Not really. It's more of a, because if it was an age thing, he'd be a lot lower on my list.
Hmm.
I just think that he's one of those players that, even though he might not catch it all this year,
Mhm.
and is that going to affect him? Like, I mean, very similar to like Miguel Cabrera. Miguel
Mhm.
Cabrera played, first base for the longest time, and then DH'd at the end of his career. Maybe this is the end for Sal Perez, or close to it. But I still think he's gonna be right in the middle of that lineup, like you said, Joe. So that's why he's ranked where he's ranked,
Yeah.
at 5,
Uh,
because he's got good protection behind him,
mhm.
especially with
100,
Jonathan India probably hitting close to the top of that lineup too.
no doubt. I did forget about India at the top of that lineup. Bobby Witt, him,
Mhm.
and Vinny Pasquantino. It's a nice top 4. I certainly like it. I'd love to see the Royals go out and get one more piece, something like Anthony Santander, really extend that lineup, make this thing a bit more formidable in the AL Central. Our
Anthony
number
Santander.
Yeah. Our number 4 catcher this year is Yiner Diaz, who I have at 4, Jason at 5. Frank, number 3 this year for you, buddy. You like Yiner Diaz again this year?
I do. He reminds me a lot of, like, he he reminds me of Sandy Alomar Jr.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice comp.
Mhm.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Sandy Alomar Jr. Like he's not. I mean, he's not going to hit you like a ton of bombs or anything of that nature. I mean, he hit 16 last year and 23 the year before. He's more of an on base guy, and that's what you need out of a catcher. I mean, they're not going to steal bases for you, but they need to be able to be put in the middle of that line, middle of whatever lineup they're in. And, essentially you drive in runs. And I mean, 1684, he had a 325 on base. It's not great.
No, but the 299 batting average was really nice,
It's,
and he earned every bit of it with an expected batting average right at 300. Hits the
yep.
ball incredibly hard, gets, and is going to be in the middle of that lineup that just got a whole lot better with Christian Walker and Isaac Paredes coming aboard for
Mhm.
Alex Bregman and John Singleton. That's certainly an upgrade at first base, bringing Christian Walker. Jason, how do you feel about Yainer Diaz this year?
Yeah, I like him too. And you mentioned it at the outset. I too would feel comfortable with any of my top probably 15, 16 catchers. So just because I have Yainer Diaz ranked number 5 doesn't mean I'm down on him. I'd be happy with him as my catcher.
Right.
He has first base eligibility as well. So does Salvador Perez, which is an added bonus. And yeah, he's 26, so he's one of the younger guys on this list,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which is a plus. And like you said, he's got great guys hitting ahead of him. The guys hitting behind him, I'm not too high on, kind of like the Royals. I'm not sold on Jeremy Pena and Chas McCormick, so I'd like to see maybe some improvement there in the outfield. Jurickson Profar is a good one there. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with Yainer Diaz. I think he's a stud in the making, and he's gonna be on this list for a number of years to come.
Mhm.
And speaking of guys on this list for a number of years, our number 5 catcher this year is, in fact, my number 5. Jason, you're number 3, and Frank, you're number 4. So we have all 5 of the same guys in the top 5, just in a different order from each other. We're talking about Will Smith here. He is the number 5 in our aggregate. And he had himself a down year last year, but he hit 20 homers, drove in 75, hit 248 with a 327 on base percentage. This guy was on Ben Nisman's team all year, and I anticipate him to get in on the Will Smith sweepstakes in the draft again this year. However, when it comes to the LA lineup, I don't think Will Smith is going to be hitting toward the top of it. I would expect him to actually be hitting more like 5th or 6th. And maybe that bumps him down just a little bit for me. The strikeout rate went up this past year, though it was still better than league average. Frank, how do you feel about Will Smith? Not the rapper and not the closer, but the catcher.
Mm. I mean, listen, when you're in that Dodger lineup, you don't really have to do much. I mean, you could be mediocre and your stock doesn't drop because the guys in front of you and the guys behind you are going to get on base. The Muncies, Freemans, Otanis, Teoscar, Mookie, like they're all going to get on base.
Yeah.
So it's like you could have a down year and your stock doesn't drop. He's in the best position he could be as a catcher. And I like him there. I mean, I really do. I just, I've always been a fan. Walk to strikeout ratio is good.
Mm-hmm.
51 to 105. He doesn't strike out a ton. Still drove in 75.
Mm-hmm.
On a down year. I mean, again, these people are getting on base in front of you. You have the MVP batting second in your line, the MVP of the league, but batting second in your lineup. You can't go wrong there.
No, you certainly can't. Jason, you've got him at 3. You're high on him this year.
Yeah, and I probably could knock him down a little bit, but because the one I'm looking at it, the one knock on him is that the last few years he hasn't played as much. 128 games last year, 126 the year before, where we're talking, guys are playing 140, 150 games. That's kind of what you want from a guy who you're going to plug into your lineup every day. So I'm hoping that, he can get, through some of these injuries and give a good 140, 145 game season. If he can, yeah, in this lineup, 2075 can be 2590, in this lineup. If he's because roster resource does have him hitting sixth behind all those guys you mentioned. So there's a lot of ducks on that pond for him to drive in.
Yeah, he's going to have to clean up a lot of the mess that they're going to make on the base pads. It's going to be quite a season for Will Smith. I think a nice bounce back year for him is in store. Our number 6 catcher in these rankings is my number 6. Frank, also your number 6. Jason, you've got him at 7. It's Cal Raleigh and Big Dunker with a 34 and 100 this past year. But oh man, he hit 220 and earned every single bit of it with a 235 expected batting average. 176 strikeouts. I think that led the position. Indeed, it did. That is not great, but he's going to provide a lot of power here in the middle of a Seattle lineup that doesn't have a whole lot of it. Jason, how you feeling about Cal Raleigh?
Yeah, I think he's a nice piece to have, especially if you're lacking power in the rest of your lineup, in the rest of your roster. But the strikeouts are what put him down for me. It's been a thing for him. He had 158 in 2023, hit only 232. He had 211 the year before that. So like he's never been an average guy. He's never been an on base guy. It's power, 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 which is great. I just like somebody with a little bit more of everything above him. So, but I would take him as my catcher.
Frank, my concern with Cal Raleigh is, of course, the strikeouts, but it's also that Seattle lineup. There's not a whole lot other than Julio Rodriguez in that lineup. Are you concerned about him as well?
Julio?
No, Cal
Oh,
Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh. Oh, okay. I was like, don't ask me about Julio. It's the wrong show. No, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, especially in what we do. I mean, prime example, Ellie De La Cruz last year. I took him knowing that there was going to be high strikeouts and high errors, which is two of the categories that we play to. But I also knew I was going to get a bunch of steals out of him. So it's 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. You're going to get 30 bombs and 100 RBIs or 32 homers and 100 RBIs. You just take the good with the bad. So I'm not concerned about it. I mean, there's there's decent people in that lineup. I don't want to say they're good, but there's decent people like Luke Raley's of the world, and Julio's there, and that Dylan Moore guy plays a lot, and he's around. So I mean, no, I'm not concerned for him.
Okay.
I mean, I would take him as my catcher as well. So
Well,
I
also,
echo Jason's sentiments.
he also walks a lot. He walked 70 times last year with an 11% walk rate. So he takes the strikeouts. He's kind of like a Kyle Schwarber of the catcher position.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a really good comp, and I was thinking
That is a good
as
comp.
well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our number 7 catcher this year is also my number 7. Jason, you've got him at 6. Frank, you're the low guy on him at 10 this year. It's Wilson Contreras of the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, might be the last year we see him with catcher eligibility, as the Cardinals have said he's going to be playing a lot of first base this year. They're going to get him out from behind the plate, hopefully to try to keep him healthy, because he broke his arm and had something else go on last year that only gave him 301 at bats. So with that move, Frank, are you interested in moving him up, knowing that he might get more playing time and be protected from injury?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, because the guys I have above him, I mean, I feel better about, running them out there every day than, than him. So no, I'm not going to move him up.
Okay. Jason, you've got him at 6. You like you some Wilson Contreras, and you have in the past as well. So tell me about him.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of his. He's very consistent, very 20 homers and 60 to 75 RBIs. He's gonna hit 250, 260, 280 on a good year. He's not gonna blow the cover off the page, but he's not gonna hurt you in anything. He doesn't strike out a lot. He walks pretty well. And I know he only played 84 games last year, but they were really good. He was really good last year. And he's just, and now that he's going to be, like you said, playing first base every day, I love that for him. I don't love the lineup around him, so that's a bit of a red flag. But I mean, that's not a reason for me to knock him down lower than 6.
Okay. And in that lineup might get a little bit worse if the Nolan Arenado trade comes to fruition wherever he may land. But we'll have to wait and see about that. Our number 8 catcher this year is my number 8. Jason, your number 8. Frank, you've got this guy at 7. You like you some JT Realmuto this year.
Always have. Can never get him in the draft. I've always liked him. It's always a Costas guy, usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I again, you don't lose stock with the lineup that when a lineup like that surrounds you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my opinion. I mean, he had 266 last year. He only had 14 homers, 47 RBIs. He was hurt for a while. But I mean, when you're hitting around Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos and Turner and I mean, you don't lose stock. I mean, he hit 266 last year, and he only played 99 games, 380 at bats, and 266. In that lineup, by all means, please. Here you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The interesting thing I have Raleigh, Wilson Contreras, and JT Realmuto as like a mini tier right here after the top 5.
Okay.
What I find interesting is that the other 2 guys, Wilson Contreras and JT Realmuto, played far less games than Cal Raleigh, but both of them had more doubles than Cal Raleigh, which is just a fun little stat to have. Jason, how you feeling about Realmuto this year?
Yeah, I'm not in love with him. I think we're seeing kind of the tail end. He's gonna be 34. And unlike Contreras or Salvador Perez, where they're moving to other positions, Realmuto doesn't have another position to go to. And so what I've heard is that they're just going to ease off the gas a little bit with him and maybe only play him 4 or 5 days a week, as opposed to like a full complement of games. So I don't think we're gonna see the 145, 150 games we're used to seeing out of Real Muto. I think we're gonna see him probably more if he's healthy, even if he's healthy, 135 games, which is not nothing, but I'd rather see a guy like Cal Raleigh, who I know is going to be there every day.
And Cal Raleigh did have 6 steals this past year. JT Realmuto used to be good for 20. He had 2 last year.
2.
I don't foresee that coming back. You don't get faster the older you get, and he's aging there pretty quickly. It'll be interesting to see what kind of season he has. Our number 9 is going to be my number 9. Jason, you've got him at number 10, which kind of surprises me. Frank, he's your number 8. It is Francisco Alvarez. Jason, tell me about our Mets catcher.
Took a step back last year. The thumb injury I know derailed a lot of the season, and I get it. And look, I want him to move up. I want him to be number 1, and I can see where he could be number 1 in 4 or 5 years. I just I'm being cautiously optimistic. I have him at 10. I would take him as my catcher. I would take him as my everyday catcher. There's nobody really on the Mets roster that's going to compete with him for playing time as long as he's healthy. So he's in there. I just, he hit 209 in 2023, 237 last year. I'd like to see that move up to at least the 250s, to make him, real star in the backstop position. But I love the kid.
39 runs scored, 47 RBIs, and 308 at bats. Frank, you seem to be the high guy on him this year as you have him at 8. You like this kid?
It's my soul to put a Met before a Brave, but besides that, yes. I mean, he's consistently gotten better. He's only played, 2 seasons, but like you hit 209 with a 284, and then you move up to a 237 and a 307. Like again,
It's
the
coming.
lineup helps.
Mm-hmm.
Your stock that your team believes in you. I mean, unless it's going to be Tomas Nido, but I don't know, nor do I really care, to be honest. But this is getting you back, Jason, for all the Ozzy Always comments.
Like that guy.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but you're getting 237, like Jason said, maybe 250 out of your catcher, who is hitting behind guys like Juan Soto and Lindor and breaking them up. Fuck that guy. I don't even want to talk about him. I don't like him.
That's next week.
But yeah, oh God, I'll be absent for that one. No, but he's moving forward. I would that's why I have him as high as I do. He's a young kid. He gets it. Like he understands the game. He runs weird, but he gets it. Like he's understanding the pitching staffs, the pitching staff, and he's commanding the game. And God bless him for being a young catcher who's able to do that. Only playing 2 seasons.
Yeah, you spoke to it, man. The pitching staff seems to absolutely love this kid. And
right.
It's not going to be Tomas Nido. It's not going to be Luis Torrens. It's not going to be Omar Narvaez. It's this kid. And this kid could be the real breakout at this position. Spoiler alert. Number 10 is, in fact, my number 10. He is Jason's number 12. And Frank, you've got him at 9. Another former Brave here in Shea Langoliers. How are you feeling about Shea Langoliers in a minor league ballpark this year, Frank?
I love it. I mean, 29 homers, 80 RBIs in a major league ballpark like the Oakland Coliseum, which is gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the 145 strikeouts is pedestrian, so that's great. The batting average sucks, but he's Sean Murphy. He's Sean Murphy with a lot more homers.
Yeah, this is poor man's Kyle Raleigh, right, Jason?
Right.
Yeah, I think so. The A's are an interesting squad. They're young, they're up and coming, and this kid's right in the middle of it. And I love his first name. So he's got all the things working for him. He just needs to cut back on the strikeouts.
Yeah, no doubt.
And draw more walks.
He's 27.
Oh, right in the middle of his prime. He had a 288 on base percentage last year. That's a little bit terrible, but I'll take it if you're going to give me 30 bombs. That's certainly a realistic outcome this year.
Yeah, Colorado hit 34 bombs and had 312 on base. So,
right.
Yeah. Our number 11 in our aggregate here is mine and Jason's number 11. Frank, you've got him right there at number 12. He is the New York Yankees catcher. It's Austin Wells. Jason, I really like Austin Wells this year because I think the Yankees are really all in on this kid being the future at the position after the move of Jose Trevino to the Reds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I feel like he kind of, to me anyway, kind of came out of nowhere last year and had a really respectable season. And so only 115 games, but now, the position's his. So there's no reason why he can't play 145, 150 games. Let's see what he can do. I mean, if 13 home runs in 115 games, I see 2075 season, especially with, the guys hitting in front of him, Judge and Bellinger and Goldschmidt, and this is a stacked lineup, and he's right in the thick of it. So, let's see. I'm not willing yet to say he's going to be a star, but I like to see what he does in a full season.
He's going to be a nice complementary piece in the middle of that lineup, right, Frank?
I like the 47 and 87 walk strikeout ratio. I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of that all the time.
really
So
solid.
you're going to get on base, go for it.
Absolutely. Jason, this is the guy that I think is the biggest outlier from your list is our number, what the hell are we on? 12. It's my number 12, your number 9, and Frank's number 14. We've got Tyler Stevenson here. Another guy that I've had you pegged as the Tyler Stevenson apologist, and yet again, he put up a decent season this past year, actually stayed healthy for a full year, which
Yeah.
is a big plus. Tell me again about Tyler Stevenson, why you love him so much.
Yeah, another kind of consistent, when healthy kind of guy. He's good for 15, 20 bombs, 60, 75 RBIs. He hit 258 last year with a 338 on base. Strikeouts a little high, but not not in the stratosphere. Walks are good. And again, like I know they just brought in Jose Trevino, but it's his position. So he's
Yeah.
gonna play every day. In that ballpark, if he's healthy, I can't see why he can't reach 25, 30 home runs.
Frank, that lineup is getting more and more interesting by the day as the Reds today traded for Gavin Lux, which makes an interesting situation in the infield with, once again, too many guys after they traded off Jonathan India. Who knows what the hell's going to happen there? But how do you feel about Tyler Stevenson?
I like Tyler Stevenson. I rostered him last year at the end of the year. He's a doubles. He's good. Like I enjoy him. A
He is a doubles
258,
machine.
338,
Yeah, he
26
almost
doubles last year.
26 doubles. That's the really good number there. Because if he takes a step forward, those doubles will start turning into home runs. And we could see a true breakout from this dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and he basically sat on waivers all year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you took a flyer on him and that's what you get. So, hey, I would even take him as my catcher,
Absolutely. He's in that top 15 for 15 to 16 where I feel comfortable taking just about everybody. The next guy, number 13 on our list, this is where it starts to get interesting. And this is where we start having some question marks about a guy. So I've got this guy at 14. You guys have him at 15 each. It is Logan O'Hoppe. And the one thing I have about Logan O'Hoppe is another name that we'll talk about probably toward the end of the show, and Travis d'Arnaud, who signed in LA to be his backup. Can this dude stay healthy? Is this lineup going to be any good? And how much playing time is he going to lose to d'Arnaud? Jason, talk to me about O'Hoppe.
Yeah, I was really high on this kid, 2 years ago, when he first came up, and then towards his what was it, his shoulder or whatever, he his labrum, and that just threw everything off the rails. Came back last year, hit 20 home runs in 136 games. Not too bad. The strikeouts were a little high, 155 strikeouts to only 33 walks. So that's the red flag for me. But if he's only 25 years old, if he gets the playing time, um, I definitely see a step forward. I don't know how big of a step forward because, like you said, this Angels lineup is not good. Um, so I think there's a cap there. I have him at 15. It's pretty much where my threshold is as far as guys I'm comfortable with being my everyday my everyday catcher. But I'm hoping for him to take a big step forward here and, really show that he can be part of this team.
I could see him jumping up if he does have a good year, but Frank, I'm not. I'm red flags are flying from this guy. The strikeout rate Jason talked about, the lineup that he talked about. This is not somebody that I'm really targeting. But if he falls to me in the 23rd round, I'd feel good about it. How about you?
Right. The reason they signed d'Arnaud was for d'Arnaud to bring this kid along. Like that's what these teams are doing. That's why he's the guy that he is. when he was in Atlanta, he brought William Contreras along. Now look where he's at. When they traded for Sean Murphy, hell, Chadwick Trump got a friggin' opportunity because of Darno. Like they they want him as the veteran presence to bring these younger players along. And so, I mean, yeah, I agree. If he's there in the 23rd round and I haven't taken a catcher, then yeah, I'm happy with it. But obviously, he's not my first choice
Yeah, I
because
wouldn't.
of the lineup, because of where he plays.
Yeah. It's an ugly lineup. It's not the greatest ballpark. And listen, unless Mike Trout stays healthy, this team is not going anywhere. They lost over, I think they lost close to 100 games last year. And I don't see any reason why they can't lose 100 games again this year. I'm not thrilled with it, but like I said, I'll be satisfied if I get him certainly late enough in the draft. The next guy in our rankings is number 14. I've got him at 13. You guys, Jason at 17, Frank at 16. I'm not entirely sure why you guys aren't higher on Connor Wong this year. He stole 8 bases and hit 280.
What's wrong with Wong? Yeah, for me, I don't know if I buy it. It just kind of came out of nowhere. It hit 230, 235 the year before.
35 the year before, yeah.
So like, he had a nice year. The first base eligibility is nice too. I could be wrong about him, but I need to see it again. He only played 126 games. So I don't know. I feel like this could be a year where he bounces forward. Because I don't think there's another catcher on that roster that's going to compete with him for playing time. So there's that going for him. But let me see what he does in a full season.
A 280 batting average, 333 on base, good for a 758 OPS. It was a pretty good season for Wong. Frank, I know you rostered this guy for a period of time as well last year. Do you like him this year in that Boston lineup?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, if my catcher has an off day and I could find him on waivers, sure. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't like Boston's lineup at all. At all.
Rafi Devers and not a whole lot else at the moment.
Rafi Devers and friends.
Yeah, not a whole lot at the moment, but they've been linked to a lot of guys in this offseason. We'll see if they actually do land somebody like Anthony Santander or Jurickson Profar for that outfield. And maybe they get in on a Nolan Arenado trade and they move Tristan Casas away or something. I don't know.
They get Santander on a less than $100 million deal.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Our number 15 catcher this year. I'm really down on this guy, but Frank, you've got him at 11. Jason, you've got him at 14. I've got him at 22. Tell me why I'm wrong about Gabriel Moreno. Frank?
Okay. 266 batting average, a 353 on base.
Mm-hmm.
The guy gets on base.
Mm-hmm.
He had 305 at bats. He struck out 52 times. He puts bat to ball. He's the Luis Ariz of catching.
Yeah, he also only hit 5 homers and drove in 45 RBIs. I don't think there's a whole lot of power here. I'm not a huge fan of that lineup anymore. I mean,
no.
They had a nice little run last year. They almost made the playoffs. And I think he's safe for playing time. I just don't know that I want to roster somebody who's only going to hit me 5 to 10 home runs. And I mean, the walk to strikeout ratio is pretty nice. I'm gonna admit that. But Jason, tell me why I'm wrong on this kid.
He only played 97 games last year, 111 the year before. So we haven't seen a full season out of this kid, but he's only 25. And I do like the Diamondbacks lineup. I like Josh Naylor. I like Lourdes Gurriel. I like Jake McCarthy right in the middle of that lineup, and he's behind all those guys. So, I think there could be some RBI chances for him. He just needs to stay healthy and put in a full season. So that's why I have him a little bit further down my rankings. But I think at 25 years old, I think there's a lot there for him to untap.
I suppose I could move him up a little bit. I could move him up to about 18 or so, but that's about as far as I could get him up there. I don't think I could get him any higher, at least right now, until I see something better out of him.
Yeah.
Our number 16 catcher is, in fact, Ryan Jeffers. Frank, you've got him at 22. I've got him at 15. Jason at 16. Ryan Jeffers, interesting name on the Minnesota Twins. 21 homers last year, a 226 batting average with a 300 on base. Is the Twins lineup going to be any better this year? Probably not. So, Frank, tell me what you hate about this dude.
The fact that he splits time with Christian Vasquez, who's a cancer.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Uh, you know, if the guy's hitting you 21, I mean, he had 412 at bats last year. So he must be, you know, he only hit 226.
Mhm.
He struck out less than 100 times. He doesn't walk very much, but yeah, like he played 122 games.
Hey, he's one of
And
those
had
like
22 doubles. He's one of those guys that's going to hit you doubles and hit bombs, and he's going to hit for power, and he's going to strike out a decent amount. Like, yeah, that's why he's further down the list than guys like Moreno, who, are going to get on base at a better clip.
Okay. Jason, tell me about Ryan Jeffers and the Minnesota Twinkies.
Yeah, it's the playing time with Christian Vasquez for me. Like, and they've never really given Jeffers a chance to be the guy who could be the guy behind the plate for them. Like, they keep splitting him with other catchers. I forget who was before Jeffers or who was before Vasquez, but they've never really just handed the keys over to Ryan Jeffers, and I feel like he's probably talented enough. He had 21 home runs last year. The strikeouts were good. Um, but they just refused to give him the full playing time, and that scares me a bit. He's 28 now, so he's right in the prime. But if they're gonna keep splitting time with Christian Vasquez, I can't I he's right at 16 for me, so like he's probably the very last guy that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. I've got him at 15. There's one more guy I feel pretty comfortable with, and then that's about it. And you're right. The 226 batting average, he earned every bit of it with a 227 expected batting average. Doesn't hit the ball incredibly hard compared to his constituents around the same area. I think this lineup is going to lose another piece between now and opening day, whether that's Carlos Correa, whether that's Byron Buxton, or whether that's somebody else. You already took Carlos Santana out of this lineup and put him on Cleveland. So, what is protecting him when he's in the lineup? Not a whole lot.
Roster Resource has him hitting ninth.
Yikes, that's horrible. Oh,
Yeah.
and the
The
guy you
Twins
can't
do this
remember?
with all their younger kids.
Mhm.
Kirilov, Larnack. I mean, it's like, oh no, we're not going to give you the job. We're going to make you earn it.
For
And
years.
yeah, for years, like not just one season.
Mhm.
And that's another reason,
Yeah.
it's just awful.
Yeah. The guy you were thinking of, Jason, is Mitch Garver. We'll talk about him in a
It's
little
much
bit.
harder.
Yep.
Yeah. The number 17, and this is where things really get hairy, but I do happen to like this guy, maybe for a sleeper season. Frank, you seem to really, really like this guy at number 13. Jason, you have him at 20. I have him at 21. It's Keibert Ruiz of the Nationals. Tell me about him, Frank.
I mean, he was good. Um, you're a Washington National. He doesn't strike out a lot, but he doesn't walk a lot. I mean, it's just one of those guys that he has 105 hits, but he hit 229 with a 260 on base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Like but when you're looking for, and for me, when I'm looking for like something consistent that I know I'm going to find in the later rounds, he's he's a guy.
Yeah,
Like he's there. you
He's
know nobody
probably
else
got
is really
safe
going to draft
playing
him.
time. That's one
Yeah,
thing. He might have safe playing time there in Washington. They seem to really like him. They seem to really like the
yeah.
way he handles the pitching staff. But the 260 on base percentage is just absolutely atrocious. Jason, tell me about the Nationals lineup.
Yeah, I don't hate the Nationals lineup. We talked about this in the last show, and we talked about them getting Nathaniel Lowe to play first base. I don't hate it. But the 260 on base at 229 average kills me. Um, Doubles, he's good for 20 doubles a year. So at 26 years old, maybe some of those start flying over the fence, and he can get to you know 20 homers in a season. There is a chance here for a bit of a breakout. Um, but he needs to improve those rate stats because it's not good.
Yeah, only 16 walks and 459 at bats this past year. Dude doesn't walk. Dude doesn't strike out. So hopefully he can
It's
put
bat to
bat to
ball.
ball. Yeah, hopefully he can put bat to ball and get a little bit better luck because he had a 232 BABIP last year. That really brought down the batting average. His expected batting average was in the 250s, which if that were real,
Yes.
that's more like what we would expect, and that would jump him up a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, he hit 260 the year before with
Mhm.
100 more at bats.
Yeah, that sounds
So,
like a viable catcher. Let's hope that that's
yeah,
more what we see this year.
260 with a 308 the year before. So, I
That's
mean,
serviceable. You could live with that on your roster.
exactly. And he
Yeah.
just could have had a down season.
Yep. Number 18 and our aggregate this year. Jason, you're very high on this guy. You've got him at 13. Frank, you've got him at 23, and I've got him somewhere in the middle at 19. Tell me about Alejandro Kirk, Jason.
I've been high on this kid for a while, and I'll be honest, like this is probably the last year that I'm this high on him. I'm waiting. He is the way he is built. Like he should be hitting 25 home runs. Like I don't understand why he's hitting only 5 and 8, and
And
it doesn't make
14.
sense. But uh, like again, the doubles are there. He's 26 years old. The playing time is going to be there for him.
Mhm.
As long as he's healthy. I know injuries have been a bit of a thing for him. Even if he becomes more of a DH and less of a catcher because he's not really probably built for 145 games as a catcher. But I want to see some power out of this kid. Um, so I have him at 13. I'm not out on him yet. Another season like last year where, to 253 and 319 is nice, but I want to see, double digit home runs at least from this kid. Otherwise, then I'm out.
Yeah. And Frank, it seems like you and I are out on him having ranked him in the 20s. Again, the playing time is probably safe, but Toronto's lineup is not getting any better, and this situation with the lack of power really, really stunts his ability to be a viable catcher in 2025. Is that what you're feeling too?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the Gabriel Moreno situation,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, this guy has shown that he can uh, that he can do it, but again, that's when Toronto was supposed to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been for the past 5 years, but they haven't been. Um, but like, I mean, in 22, he hit 285 with a 372 on base.
Yeah.
He had more walks than strikeouts. And then it went down. And then it went down again. So what's happening? Like, are it's got to be something that you're going to figure out, or you got to figure it out because, yeah, 14 homers, 8 homers, 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
19 doubles, 16 doubles, 19 doubles. Like, you're getting on
Yep.
base, you're getting on base,
The other
but
thing, he played 14 games at AAA before being called up, and that's it. He hasn't seen a single game in AAA since then.
wow.
So and his minor numbers were really good. So maybe he just needed some more adjustment. Maybe he needed more than 14 games at AAA to get acclimated. I don't know, but so that's why I'm willing to give him one more year. He's 26. This is the start of his prime. Do something good.
Do something good, Alejandro Kirk, or else you're going to be off the list.
Maybe Toronto should trade him and help him out.
That might be a thing. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
He's pretty controllable right now. I don't foresee them moving off of him, especially when they moved Gabriel Moreno in order to give him the full-time playing time. And they brought in Dalton Varsho in that trade, which has been an unmitigated disaster to this point.
But they took Kesher away from him, so that's there you go.
Yeah. Number 19 in our aggregate. Finally, Frank, we're going to talk about your Atlanta Braves catcher, Sean Murphy. Tell me about Sean Murphy.
I don't want to.
The good doctor.
He's awful. All right. You did it, so I'm going to do it. He didn't play much last year. The oblique injury got to him. The year before, he hit 251 with a 365 on base. The highest amount of at-bats he's had in the season was 22 in Oakland before he got traded. He's average, and you're playing behind a guy like Darno, a veteran who, Murphy's 30. So I can't imagine that they're not going to take that away from him anytime soon. And with team-friendly contracts that just get thrown at people in Atlanta, he's there for at least another 6 years. I really don't like him. I don't.
Especially when they gave up the best catcher. They gave up the best catcher in baseball in order to get him. They gave up Shea Langoliers, who could have been the catcher there as well, to go get Matt Olson. This is the guy you settle with, and he hits 193?
193 with a 284 on base.
Gross.
233 at bats.
Jason, tell me about this dude.
Yeah, originally I had 20 guys on my list, and you told me I needed 25, so he became 21. and so
he should be 26.
Yeah, you know what? The power is there. Look, he only played 72 games. He still hit 10 home runs. So the home run power is there. If he's healthy for, somewhat of a full season, maybe we get back to the 20 home run season he had the year before. That's something. I just don't know if I trust it. I don't like the Braves. I don't like the lineup. And I don't like him. So he's 21 for me. Again, if he's, floating around there on the waiver wire and I need a catcher, sure.
I've got him at 16. And I'm just willing to throw out last year because of the injury and because of the Darno factor. Darno was pretty serviceable last year, so they played him over Murphy a lot because of the injury, and they wanted to rest him, make sure that he got better. I'm just willing to throw out 2024. I could be completely wrong, but maybe this dude does come back to what he was in Oakland this year.
Yeah, it's possible. That's why he's not 25 for me.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
2 more catchers that we agreed on. I'm not going to break down where we have them. I'm just going to tell you that Jonah Heim and Joey Bart are the 2 guys that all 3 of us had on our lists. Jonah Heim had himself a disaster of a season as well last year. Hit 220 with a 267 on base. We thought that he was going to be really good after the year he had when they won the World Series. Are we willing to do the same thing that I'm willing to do with Sean Murphy and throw out 2024 based on a World Series hangover? Anybody?
I think Kyle Higashioka makes that a little complicated.
Yeah. And as for Joey Bart, former top prospect, he's going to get all the playing time in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a guy.
Yeah, there may be something there. He's 28. I think that this is a make it or break it year for him.
Pittsburgh has put all of their eggs into this kid's basket. And he did have a pretty decent season when he was there. He hit 265 with a 337 on base, 13 homers. Not a bad strikeout rate, but the BABIP was 321, which means there was a whole lot of bullshit just dropping in and getting through the infield with seeing eye singles. So we could see a regression, but maybe this is real. Maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates found something here. They're certainly going to play him. So
why not?
I've got him at 17. He's literally that next guy after the first 16 where I feel comfortable. He's the next guy where I go, I could squint and see a 15 homer season out of you.
Yeah,
possible. There were a few names that two of us had on our list that one of us did not. The one that sticks out to me, Jason, you don't have Danny Jansen. He's going to be catching in Tampa this year.
Yeah, which I do like. The Dancing Jansens, but he had chances in Toronto. He never really did much with it. And I think the Rays lineup is no better than the Blue Jays lineup. And I just I looked at his numbers and I don't have them in front of me now, but his OPS plus was really down like over the last 3 years. I'd rather give a shot to a guy like Joey Bart than Danny Jansen.
He was all right when he got to Boston, all right when he got there last year, but you're right. He had 61 strikeouts to 40 walks, which is nice. 205 batting average that he absolutely earned. 204 expected batting average, but a 227 batting average on balls in play. So maybe he was just incredibly unlucky last year. I don't know. We'll see. Tampa.
Roster Resource has him hitting 5th in that Rays lineup.
I don't know about that.
Right? But like the guys behind him are Christopher Morel, Jonathan Aranda, Johnny DeLuco, and Taylor Walls. Like, who's hitting ahead of him out of those guys?
I happen to trust Tampa. I happen to trust Tampa a little bit more than I do some organizations. So if he's going to bounce back, this is the situation where he will.
Yeah.
It's the year to take Tampa from an offensive standpoint because they're going to play in a minor league stadium.
No doubt. Frank, you happen to like Patrick Bailey of San Francisco. You've got him at 18. Jason, you had him at 25. I didn't have him on the list. And that's probably an oversight by me, if I'm honest.
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Jason.
No, you take it away, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna. He hit 8 home runs and 46. He had 46 RBIs, 401 at bats. He struck out 100 times, the exact same number each of the last 2 seasons that he played. I mean, you play in a ballpark where you're not going to hit a lot of home runs. Like, it just doesn't happen unless you're Barry Bonds and you're on juice. But, yeah, I mean, I like the guy. Again, he's not high on the list.
No.
But he's there.
Yeah.
Like, I'd take him over Sean Murphy.
Okay. Jason, where does Roster Resource have him hitting?
9th.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, I can't imagine that they're gonna play Tom Murphy over this dude. So, like, I think aside, apart from most years, I think he might finally be unleashed and get to play 130, 140 games. So again, maybe we can see something of a fullish season from this kid at 26. I don't know. I mean, there's no expectations here at 25 for me, but maybe he does something magical. Who knows?
The final guy who was on 2 of your lists, and it's your 2 lists, was Bo Naylor. I had him at 26, so I understand why we're all sort of intrigued by this kid. Although the 201 batting average and a 198 expected batting average just scares the bejesus out of me, and I don't think this kid has a whole lot of power either. Struck out 31.5% of the time in his at-bats last year. 122 strikeouts and 354 at-bats. I'm out on that kid.
Yeah. This is probably the last year for me. Like he's still 25, so like there's still, ages on his side. Not a great lineup. I get it. I totally get it. And I was this close to having him off the list, but at 25, I still want to give him one more shot.
Frank, any input on Bo Naylor?
You told me I needed 25 catchers.
Fact, I did.
You did.
Guys,
you got it.
It is time for sleepers, breakouts, and bust. Let's start with a sleeper. I'm going to go with Alejandro Kirk. I'm willing to believe that this guy could bounce back, and maybe he could get 12 homers this year. We'll see what he's capable of. Jason, who's your sleeper at catcher, my friend?
I really don't I don't know if I have one because I really feel like this lower echelon of the catcher position is not great.
Mhm.
But I have him on my list. He's number 24 for me. Miguel Amaya of the Cubs. Um, like I know they brought in Carson Kelly, so there's playing time issues there. But give this kid a chance. Again, he's 26. Last year he hit only 232 with a 288 on base. Not great. But maybe there's something there. I have him at 24. Give him to me as a sleeper.
All right. Frank, I told you last minute we needed sleepers, breakouts, and busts. So I do apologize that you weren't able to prepare as long as we did. Do you have a sleeper?
I do. For me, it's going to be Austin Wells.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's only room to go up from, one season. As you mentioned earlier, hitting behind Judge or whoever mentioned it, we're hitting behind Judge, Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, all those guys. He's not Posada, but I mean, they obviously believe in him enough to let him play 115 games.
Yeah.
So,
I like it. I like it, man. I like it as a sleeper there. Breakout, Jason. Who do you have as a breakout candidate?
I'm gonna go with Tyler Stevenson. I think he's ready to take a step forward. I think those doubles are gonna turn into home runs in that ballpark. His playing time is steady. I'd like to see a good 25, 30 home run season out of him.
I've got Francisco Alvarez, and I think this is the year to own him. He might just take a gigantic step forward.
I want you to be right.
I want to see a 25 homer season out of this kid. I really, really do. Yeah. And if that's the case, he might have 80 RBIs and be a cornerstone in this franchise for years to come. Frank, who you got at breakout?
I have the same one. I have Francisco Alvarez. I think he's going to be really good this year.
Yes,
I really do.
If I wasn't a Met fan, I would have picked him too, but I'm tempering my expectations.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about bust candidates. Let's talk about who you're avoiding this year. Frank, who you got as your bust?
Sean Murphy. Done.
Okay, done. Jason, who you got as a bust?
JT Realmuto.
I got the same guy.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best of him, and he's not going to age like Salvador Perez. He's going to lose playing time. He doesn't have another position to go to. He's going to end up being Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah, I could see him aging like Yasmani Grandal, who had a really nice year and then a bad year and then was off of teams.
Yeah,
I was kidding on mine. My bust is going to be Wilson Contreras.
Okay.
I really feel that where he's playing, if he gets more playing time, great. But the lineup is it's awful now. I mean, it's a bunch of kids.
Yep.
And him and Arenado.
Yep. We usually do comeback player. I'm not even going to bother with this, but I will say I hope that Sean Murphy has a bounce back season for the Braves' sake. I happen to like the dude. I think he's going to be all right. I want to throw
sanity.
out. I want to throw out 2024 because of the injury. Jason, did you have one?
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see. Like, I don't know if you can call it a bounce back, but like Gabriel Moreno only played 97 games last year, so maybe bounce back into 120 games and let's see what you can do.
Yeah. Guys, this has been a fantastic show. It kicked off our positional rankings. Next week is first base. Frank, are you excited for first base rankings?
Not when Pete Alonso's name comes up, but yes.
Thanks so much for being here, my friend. I'm looking forward to having you on these shows for this year.
Absolutely. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. And I appreciate you guys having me.
Jason, as always, thanks for being here with us, my friend.
Yes, I love it. This is the time of year, dude. And the football regular season's over. Baseball's right around the corner, and I am stoked to do these position rankings.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Until next time, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.